Welcome back to Money Talks. I have Mike Lomas here with me. So can you tell me a few financial moves that we should be making to set ourselves up for 2017?
Well, I think, it's a new year. It's a fresh start. The first thing I would do is I would go through your investments. I'd go through your portfolio, and I'd start to see if there's any losers in the portfolio. If you're well diversified, you're definitely going to have losers along the way. It's not, you're never going to have, if you're a well diversified investor, I shouldn't say never, but it's going to be pretty difficult to have 12 different investments and all 12 are doing extremely well, right? So you try to find the one or two that maybe it's time to say, let's take a step back. Maybe we, plug something else into place there. The other thing, and I know you're going to talk later in the show about taxes, but it's a great time. You're in a well-diversified portfolio and you have 14 different investments and 2 of them are down, 12 are up. Take the losses on the 2 that are down. Be proactive about that. And you only have a few more days here in 2016 to be able to take advantage of that. So I would definitely start with any losers you have and then move into the tax planning side of it. Take advantage of that. It's going to help offset some of the winners you might have along the way.
Okay, I hear you talk about losers. You just mentioned them now, and you talk about them on your radio show, about getting rid of the year-end losers. What do you mean by that?
Well, it means that certain asset classes, and if you're diversified, you may have some money in, let's say, real estate, or you may have money in government bonds, you may have money in corporate bonds. And, some of those, the stock market's up, but it doesn't mean that government bonds are up. It doesn't mean that corporate bonds are up. It doesn't mean international stocks are up. So when I mean losers, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad investment long term, but it also might give you an opportunity to take a loss and take a tax loss. Nothing wrong with taking tax losses and get back into that sector 30, 60 days from now, reposition yourself. But on paper, you take advantage of some of the volatility that's happened. And again, just because the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up doesn't mean that everything in your account's going to be up. And so great time to do some end of the year planning and take advantage of those losers.
Mm-hmm. And last week, I heard you talk about homework. Is this something you only do once, or is it something that you should be revisiting yearly?
I think homework is really key to putting together a solid plan. And when it comes to investment planning, most people don't plan. They just throw stuff in their portfolio, or I'll say, how did you buy that? Well, my uncle told me to buy it. My aunt told me to buy it. My friend at work told me to buy it. Put together a solid investment plan, and you do that through homework, right? Identify and understand a risk tolerance with your money, so you know what type of risk you want to take. Are you a conservative investor? Are you middle of the road? Are you aggressive? What type of risk are you willing to take? And then do your investments match up with that risk tolerance? A lot of times folks will come into our office and they'll say, we're really conservative. And I'll look at their investments and say, you're 100% invested in the stock market. That's not really a conservative plan. And then, so as you develop a homework strategy, risk tolerance, your expenses, people always ask me, how much money do I need to retire? And I'll say $100 million. Get out of here, $100 million. Well, what is your plan? What is your lifestyle? So your expenses are key to that homework process. And then develop a rate of return that you need to earn. And that's really key, right? A lot of times folks will not have an understanding as to what type of a rate of return they need throughout the next 5, 10, 15 to 20 years to get, to allow them to be a successful or to have a successful retirement. If your goal is, hey, I have $300,000 right now and I want to get to $600,000 over a 5-year period or a 10-year period, what is the rate of return that I need to earn to make that possible? And then how does that fit with my risk tolerance? Homework is key, absolutely 100%.
Okay, and one last question for you. With everyone making New Year's resolutions, if people are looking to do some investing or looking for a new financial planner, where should they start and how can you interview kind of your financial planner to find one that's best for you?
I think your last question nailed it. If you are looking to interview financial planners, the first thing you should do when you walk into that office, the first thing they should be asking you is, here's the homework that I'm going to ask you to do, right? If you walk into an investment office and they start talking about this great investment that you should buy, my favorite one is, hey, I own it in my investment portfolio, and I always tell my clients, I'll show you where my investments are, but my goals and objectives may be very different. My risk tolerance may be very different. Homework is the key to success.
All right, thank you so much for being here, Mike. If you would like a complimentary consultation of your investments, you can reach the financial guys at 633-1515. That's 633-1515.